India is one of the, if not the most, diverse and fascinating country on planet Earth. It has states in the northeast like Assam, Meghalaya, that many people haven't even heard of if they're not from India. The north is so much different from the south, and today we are going to look at the city that, in my opinion, is the most underrated city in India. It has a very illustrious colonial history. The French have left a lot of architecture there, so there are a lot of colonial buildings. It is the city of Puducherry, formerly also known as Pondicherry. As you can see, Puducherry is right here in the state of Tamil Nadu, right by the coast where my marker is. That is it. It is not the largest city for Indian standards. I think the closest city to it that is super large is Chennai. We will look at it, but it is about 4 or 5 hours by train to get to Chennai. So not too bad. And Puducherry has an international airport. However, I think most flights that go there are domestic flights, which makes a lot of sense. In fact, here it says Tamil Nadu Puducherry. So I wonder if Puducherry is its own state. That would be pretty sick, to be honest. But what is there to see? You know what? Let's just take this little man, the marker over here, and put it somewhere over here. Why not put it near the beach? And I'm going to show you why the city is so unique in India. There we go. You see already, there's colonial architecture. These white, beautifully restored houses. You can tell people take care of these buildings. The local government perhaps has restored them. Even the street signs, look at that. This is Rue Saint-Louis, and then also this in Tamil language over here. Rue Saint-Louis, of course, means St. Louis Street in French. And it shows that, you know, there's a lot of heritage, a lot of things left by the French. Also, notice this sign. As you know, in India, people toot the horns a lot of beeping and noises, like noise pollution in the large cities. However, in Puducherry, not really a thing. It is banned, and I'm sure it will be enforced as well. Just because the town is so clean and, you know, so prestigious, I would almost want to say. But yeah, if we leave this area, you can also see there's a place called the White Town, and I think this is where all the colonial architecture is mostly located in. If we just zoom in, you can see all the streets are French. Bazar Saint-Laurent Street, Dumas Street, Bussy Street, Surcouf Street. Yeah, even further out, Montorsier Street. Now it's a little mixed with Indian names as well. There are some very cool sites there, like the Sunday Market. If we go into the pictures over here, you can see there's everything from books to textile to just, a random assortment of things. And this may have been a Sunday or maybe a festival where the street has been super full. But yeah, a very, very fascinating place that I can only recommend going. What is that? That absolutely jumped out to me. And yeah, this is one of the most important sites in the whole city, the Sri Aurobindo Ashram. Not actually sure what it is, but it is a beautiful colonial building once more with 13,000 reviews. So it's going to be very, very important. There's the Rock Beach, the City Beach. Let's just click on that so I can show you that. That's it. Again, 40,000 reviews, pretty crazy. It looks stunning. It kind of reminds me of Sri Lanka a lot, of a city beach in Colombo, just without the high rises. Maybe even of Galle with the light tower. Sri Lanka does look like this, but it makes sense because the south of India is relatively close to Sri Lanka. Now, as I already said, Puducherry has an international airport. However, the only flights there are pretty much domestic. There's Hyderabad and Bengaluru. $46 to go to Hyderabad. Not bad, I would say. I wonder what airlines serve this. Indigo, yeah, low-cost airline. So yeah, a trustworthy airline as well. So not bad. $42 to go to a much larger city in the center of India. Then, of course, as I mentioned, there are trains to go to Chennai, and these are weirdly expensive. There are also buses. Those are much cheaper. A bus trip from Chennai to Puducherry costs $15. And I think for anybody visiting India from abroad, that makes sense because you're not going to fly into Puducherry. There are no connections from, let's say, other countries into Puducherry. So you're going to have to go to Chennai, and then you're going to have to take any form of public transport to get to Puducherry. There is a sleeper train, I think, yeah, for $11. So that is probably the cheapest option. Bunk beds, in fact, 3 beds in a row. That's insane. Like, I've never taken a train like that, but I would be curious to do that to see what it is like. In fact, there's even a $4 option here, a sitting option, which I think is absolutely fine. For 4 hours, you don't really need a bed, in my opinion. There's a bus. That's what that looks like in India. Yeah, there's also, of course, the $41 option is actually a luxury bus, AC seater. That makes absolute sense. There's also a sleeper option on the bus. So there are different price options. You can go from Chennai to Puducherry or vice versa for as little as $4. That's pretty good. Hotel-wise, again, India kind of lacks a middle ground option, if you know what I mean. There are cheap budget hotels that are pretty horrendous, and then you get luxury hotels for $100. But normally you don't really have those middle class hotels that are just like fine and not luxurious but comfortable. That is missing in India a lot. Not in Puducherry. Look at that. There are hotels for $35, boutique hotels. All of them are in these heritage buildings. Any place that you just, visit, Villa Krish, Palais de Pondicherry, all these options are around $40, $50, and they're so good. The Bull Boutique Hotel, this is what the city prides itself in, the architecture, the boutique heritage buildings, and it's beautiful that hotels are in those buildings, so you really get this lifestyle as a tourist. I've actually selected a couple hotels here. La Cedille, look at that. That's the breakfast right here. You know it's going to be good. The reviews are 8.3. The cheapest room there is $69. Nice. Something went wrong. That is fantastic when I'm trying to film a video, but that's what our room looks like. It is absolutely gorgeous. Also the Grand Hotel d'Europe. Again, there's a connection to Europe in the White Town because of all the architecture, the colonial history. The Heritage King room for $120, definitely a much more expensive option, but you can't fault it when it looks like this. This is amazing. This is just stunning. Yeah, you can also probably get breakfast there. Breakfast and dinner included for $148. That's crazy. Last but not least, we should look at the restaurants in Pondicherry, which have a very similar vibe. They are often European inspired and sometimes a mix of European food and Indian food. When I say European food, I mean French. I've selected 2 restaurants, the Villa Shanti, and if we click on food, you see a lot of French stuff, like the creme brulee over here. That is a French dessert staple, and not something you usually see in India. Even that, I forgot what that's called. That's also French. It's a savory food, savory dish. But then you get this bread. I don't want to say the wrong thing because I did forget what this is called. I don't think this is naan, is it? I'm not sure. Not too familiar with Indian food. But look at that. There's just a great mix of Indian and French flavors. Stunning, absolutely stunning. And you can tell Karun Kumar over here is definitely enjoying himself a lot. There's also the Palais de Mahe, which has a very similar vibe. Yeah, look at that. Again, here there's probably a little more Indian flavors than French, but you can definitely see the French influence. Also, the fish, big staple for Pondicherry, Puducherry, however you want to call it, because it's right on the sea. India is, of course, a seafarer nation, so it just makes sense. But what do you think? Have you been to Pondicherry, Puducherry? What do you call it, firstly? That would be interesting to know. What do Indians call this town? And how do you like it? Would you recommend me to go there? Because I am very curious about India. I do want to book a flight, go to the south mainly, the north too, but I'm more fascinated by the south. Is it actually, as nice as it looks on the photos? Please let me know. And please subscribe and please like this video because it will do a lot better with the algorithm. And I'm going to see you all very, very soon in the next one. Bye for now.